I can only assume. Here, I'll use my phone. It's been a while since I've used this interface, so I've got a little window in. Hey, so we are the live.
Yeah, I got the stream pulled up.
Right on. Just kind of hanging out. Let me see what happens if I bring that up. Okay, that doesn't work because I don't have it set up like Ryan where I can just kind of click through some things and switch between faces and all of that stuff. So if I have the camera on me, then that means I can't show my face like in the other stuff. So
yeah,
it's all right. I think they can hear you though.
Yeah. Yep.
So for those of you who don't know by now, and firstly, like, shame on you, right? This is the man, the mythos, the legend, Mr. Puzzle.
Hello.
So we were just sitting here chit-chatting about a couple of things. I really should. Let's see. What if I do... How do I do that? The problem is I've got this set up. If I go to Spell Table Game, then I should be able to open up another OBS and then broadcast my face, through that.
Do you just want your face and your screen at the same time?
I think so. I can just add it in too.
Yeah, you can just add a capture of your screen and then have them both up.
That'll be awesome.
Shrink down your face.
Because we don't necessarily need all of this at once. So you're getting this live, baby. Live. Okay, so let's shrink that down to something like that. Something like that. Let me bring up something, a target. Good. Oh my God, what is that noise?
Yeah, let me turn off.
What is that noise?
It's right above my mic. It's great.
Oh, is it an air conditioning?
Yeah.
And window capture. Let's add existing Chrome capture. Why are you acting funny? Okay, so we got to get rid of that. Goodbye. Okay, so we're going to add something. Okay, so thank you for sticking with us, random no one who is not in the chat. That's the sad thing about looking at this through Streamlabs, or not Streamlabs, but OBS, is you can't tell how many people are watching, if any. So it's like, I'm by myself, I mean, I'm fine with that. Digicards, yeah, let's do a Digicards. At existing, because that's a Moxfield thing. And then we'll bring that up to TPI, and we'll do something like that. Of course, let's get rid of my bar and all of that. Of course, we can probably scooch in the sides here. Toasty. Tasty toasty. I bring this in a little bit. Go up there like so. Down like so. And down like so. And then bring this to the bottom like so. All right.
What's up?
Might as well talk about it. Of course, I probably share my screen with you so you can see in Discord instead of having to watch. There you go. So while we're just kind of chilling, hanging out, doing all that stuff, not exactly sure if we'll be able to get a game or anything like that. Because, people work and all, and this is just Clay and Ryan making themselves available to play some games on Friday nights, which has been a oft requested thing. It seems like we get more requests than shows, but here we are.
Every time.
Every time. Yeah, what's Alex say? 60% of the time it works every time?
Something like that.
Something like that. There's truth to that, I guess. So while we're hanging and banging, and while I have the Master of Combo on, now this is actually kind of a some people have known about it, but this is kind of like an official release of a thing that Clay has been brewing lately. I've
heard the legends.
Yeah, I don't just sit around and make rules committee videos all day. Come on, that's funny. That's funny.
It is. I watched it. I've got my response video coming out tomorrow.
Hey, that's awesome. No, discourse and dialogue is always a welcome thing in the community. So,
yeah.
Clay's. Oh, I was okay. So, Third Path Iconoclast. Not that I'm a huge Banishing Knack fan.
Yeah, clearly not.
No, because so
you only played in all your Is It decks.
Well, not everyone. I mean, just Malcolm Dargo, and the reason why it's in that list is because that's an amalgamation of the Pirate Ping combo and the Banishing Knack combo.
Right.
That's just an overlay of those two things. The reason why Knack was slotted in is because at the genesis of the deck, it was one of those kind of items where I'm already playing these 0 drops to power out a Turbo Dargo, which was kind of correct at the time, may or may not be correct currently, but here we are. It just led us down the road to blending those two things together. So this transition to this list actually began as asking the question, well, what if Bilbo was, something? As it turns out, Bilbo is something. Hey, Mizo, what's up, man? Hey, I can see the response in the chat, but I can't see if there's anybody watching because I'm using that old school stuff. So doing well, just kind of hanging out with my man Dallas here. Maybe we'll kick some games off. Maybe we won't. That's okay. I'm having a great time anyway. So Bilbo turned out to be, I'm not saying Bilbo doesn't have some build out there. I just know that the way that I was trying to go about it, or what my heart and or soul was telling me about the deck, I just didn't want to do anything with it after messing with it for a couple of days. So take that as you will.
Yeah. I don't think it's particularly strong, especially for combo. I think to play Bilbo over other Is It options, you really actually have to care about the ring mechanic, and combo decks don't really. So
yeah, so there might be, and my conclusion was something to the effect of there's a likely control list out there somewhere. Perhaps. I'll let somebody else who likes building that stuff discover that. I'm not that person. So I had already made the decision with Bilbo to focus on a pure Knack package. So no frills, no extraneous, just honing down to a tight core of Knack enablers, spells, what have you. And I think I got it. Ooh, pizza just came back. Ooh. I think I got it down to a core list of 18 Knack associated spells. So whether that be the flicker targets, or the Knack targets, or the Knack tappers, untappers, or the knack spells and the tutors to find all of that stuff. I got it down to like 18 cards, which is a pretty sizable package that offers a lot of redundancy. If it had one negative thing about it, is it's basically 2 categories of 4 cards each, and then 2 categories of 5 cards each. So it's like, what if you get 3 of the 1-5 category? You know what I mean? So it's like, so it was trying to find a way, recognizing that there was a potential problem with that. It was trying to find a way to make those cards meaningful outside of the combo. So
you played Curious Control.
So I did have Curious Control, those components. Now, when I talk about it, it might be different than what somebody else is saying, but I consider it 3 core pieces. So Sigil of Sleep is included in that, along with the Ophidian Eye and the Tandem Lookout. So that's what I would consider the 3 base pieces for.
I agree.
Okay. So I had it in the list, and the poopy thing that I was experiencing. So if you look at all of the pingers that are available, so all of them, and Ryan's TPI list, I believe, plays every single one of them. You have like 9 or 10 targets, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when you're playing the Curiosity Control pieces, there's probably a good percentage that you're going to run into a pinger when you're playing all of them, and you're going to have a nice target and have a nice time. Well, when you're only playing 5 of them, right? Like it was a non-zero, number of games that I had one of these pieces in my hand and nothing to attach it to, and attaching or soul bonding a Tandem Lookout to a Artifact Soldier doesn't really sound all that great, So yeah,
I do have
a
question.
Yeah.
So if we're not playing all of the pingers and we're not on the Curiosity, why are we playing Knack instead of Flicker?
Ooh. That's a good question. It's actually a good question that I don't have an academic answer for, outside of the fact that I was bound and determined to try to explore Knack, as a combo shell, because not too many people are doing that. It's not easy, so I can see why. Plus, and so I do have kind of a good answer that I just thought about now. So the deck that I took apart to exchange places in the battle box was Warden. So I took apart a Flicker deck, and I didn't necessarily want to put a Flicker deck back. So now I think there is an opportunity. This isn't a judgment call on one combo being better than another kind of thing. I know that I wanted, and Bilbo was supposed to be a Knack combo deck as well. So I was already on that train, and and I made the fallacy of I made the fallacy of asking the stupid question of like, okay, why would I play Bilbo over this? Scryfall, rarity uncommon, target, type creature. Why would I play Bilbo over, color identity? Is it enter? Oh, TPI. Oh, TPI. So, yeah. So why would I play Bilbo over TPI? So I didn't want to. I initially didn't want to build TPI because I'm one of those players that has a natural aversion to doing the things that everybody else is doing. Yep. So being that Ryan had transitioned from TPI, I mean, he still has it built, but he was kind of moving back to like honing some of his Black X decks and that sort of thing. and trying to work on mid range because I mean, mid range needs the help. So as Ryan transitioned to focusing on other things, that just kind of left a little bit of a void, and I was like, so there's the other Ryan. So we have at least one. So because I want to. Yeah, because I want to. I mean, in reserve. So I firmly believe now this there's room for disagreement here, and I understand that. Some players, figureheads, what have you, will tell you that X combo line is the strongest possible thing you can be doing in CPDH, and if you're not playing that, then are you even playing competitively? And from a metrics perspective, I get that. I understand that. But also, I was part of a modern meta way back in the day, and even in standard metas way back in the day, where you have these like innovating, rogue, deck builders that come into a meta and they just change everything because they start playing the things no one else is playing. So,
yep.
I'm not saying that I'm going to do that every time. I'm not even saying that that's the intention of the experiment, but I don't know, just kind of falls in line with the fact that I'm not necessarily an against the grain kind of guy, because that just sounds abrasive. But I'm a not what everybody else is doing kind of guy. So
right.
Just by virtue of that, I have my own,
But yeah, my reason for bringing it up is, as you know, obviously I love Curious Control.
Yeah.
And I've played Knack in a lot of Izzet decks, and I have my 5-color Knack deck, and it's nice.
Mm-hmm.
I think it really works for some commanders. TPI specifically, the weird thing about the pingers is that they're still outlets for the flicker deck in TPI.
Yeah.
Even like the artifact ones, just because of how TPI works.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, the extra setup of Knack doesn't seem particularly worth it in TPI. So even if you still want to try it,
Mm-hmm.
just to find out, I'd be interested to see just a copy, like duplicate this list and make a Flickr version at some point, just to see if those, because it'll save you a lot of deck slots, which means you get to play other cards.
Yeah, and even then, like, there are some pingers that I just cannot stand. Like, was it Sawblade Scamp?
Yeah, that one's rough.
And even like, I would play that over what's the goblin that you have to pay one into?
Yeah, both of those are definitely rough.
So it's like, by the so some items, some points for consideration. So I'm playing like Firebrand Archer, Kessick Flame Breather, Reckless Fireweaver, and Ingenious Artillerist, and Nettle Drone. Behind the scenes, Ryan and I have talked about, and I am considering it, if there's room, putting in impact trimmers, because to your point, the things that you're doing with TPI are naturally just building these things. Yeah, I just, for the Knack plan, once you add one beyond, like one pinger beyond, now you're kind of diluting it a little bit, and all of these aforementioned one, whether it's non-creature or they specify artifact or colorless, they all interact with the Knack plan. So
right. So would Witty Roast Master over impact trimmers, if you wanted to do that route.
Mm-hmm. And I did. I think I've since taken them out. I believe that I have. Ooh, what's that say? This quantity of card makes this deck illegal. Oh, probably because I put it
already in the main board.
Yeah. Watch this. Send it. Okay. No, one thing that you can't see, because I've since cleaned up my considering, but I had all of the extraneous pingers down here in the bottom. In fact, if I check, I might even have like, oh yeah. I put a Z in there to make them like go down to like filter to the bottom. So you can see the old tags in there where I had the old pingers and all of that stuff. So I mean, I legitimately started with everything and started cutting away the fat, to get down to the meat. So, I mean, I'm not arguing the legitimacy behind, maybe a preference towards Flickr. So yeah, I mean, it's just, I wanted to kind of push this, and if it worked, it worked. If it didn't, it worked. I mean,
it's just something I'd like to see tested after this for comparison.
Yeah, and that's probably a likely road, because I mean, so between the knack untappers, the knack spells, which I'm including tutors in that, the knack payoffs and the bonuses. Now, I did add in an Ethereum Sculptor to expand my range of options for knack targets, and it's stuff that we'd be playing anyway. Arcane Signet is something that I find extremely interesting, because you tap it for a mana that gets cost reduced by Sculptor, so you're basically playing this 2 CMC spell for nothing. I found
that's a fun one.
So I found that to be an interesting thing. But anyway, like I think between minus these pieces, because the only thing that would leave this would be the Sculptor. You wouldn't play the Sculptor in the Flickr deck. It would be 19 pieces that you would just almost like slot out, because the counter spells is pretty standard. Minus the Sculptor, like I said, the ramp is pretty standard. Your removal is pretty standard. Like all of these pieces work. Hell, even your tutor pieces are somewhat interchangeable as well. So it's like, yeah, basically just take this core knack piece out and swap in the base Flickr stuff plus, about 5-10 other spells. So
yeah, it just frees up a lot of slots. But anyways, we can take a closer look at the list if you want.
Sure. Do you have the link?
I do not.
Do I have it? No, I don't have it unlisted. A message there. Boom. V. Boom. Okay.
Let's take a look here. Oh, you're playing Knack? Let's see. Massive Raid is a card that I never know how to feel about. Especially if we're not on the Curiosity plan and just kind of like making bodies because we're getting value. So that'd be one to look how many bodies we actually make.
Yeah. Yeah. So in this, the way that I'm looking at it is that it's never, thank God there's only one copy of it. It's never something that I want in my opening hand. But like at the end of the day, when we're getting turn, 8 or so, there's the potential of having 5 or 6 people on the board. And by that time, that's a, non-trivial amount of life. So if I really want to end the game on the stack is what I want to do.
Yeah, I know you've been trying to do that for a long time.
Yeah. So I, it's part of the suite of spells like Of One Mind, Meeting of Minds. It's part of like some of those spells that just, tie naturally into, just creature, the creature program. If anything, because it doesn't happen often, but looking at this removal suite. The only thing that I have that scales is well, it's not the only thing. So it's like 4 things. So Spell Bomb kind of scales in the fact that it just bounces it back to hand. Spread scales because, the longer the game, the more damage it deals. And then Naturally Echoing Truth. And then Massive Raid would be the other one that, like, if I'm staring down a 5/5 creature, an opposing creature, and I got to do something about it, it's an option.
Right.
So having that capability in the deck, and the 2 knack spells bounce as well. So more and more we're discovering. At least I might be speaking out of turn, but like more and more we're discovering that at certain points of the game, whether or not you took a hit, from a medium-sized creature or didn't take a hit, that becomes kind of a consequential thing. So having the opportunity to absolve myself of, some skeleton token or, a Conrad something or,
Right.
So it's all experimental, and I'm kind of known for being weird, so I don't mind that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's like a weird card to include. It's just one that I see and think, we'll see how often it actually does something. Because surely it does something most of the time. But yeah. Let's see what else here. Playing all the cantrips, that'll make sense. Mizium skin seems kind of unnecessary to me.
It's just a 1 mana protection spell.
But yeah.
It's also on the outside chance. It's a people have been talking a lot about Electrickery recently, so it's a slight hedge against that as well. But I mean, at its floor, it is simply just a 1 mana, because I'm at 32 lands.
Right.
So I wanted my interaction where I could to be as cheap as I possibly could get, and I didn't want to. I mean, it's like the one, because even Intervene allows me to target other creatures. It's like the one that doesn't allow for the flexibility of using it on the opposing side. It's just protecting my creatures. So I wanted to be careful with how much I added. I didn't want to be too greedy.
Yeah.
Hey, so it's our friend. Like, okay, so this is, I have no idea. Parts of this looks like grease. Oh, I see. Yeah. So you'll have to give us a lot of us been talking in the background. You're going to have to let us know what we can call you, because I want to be respectful of your name and your person, but I have no idea where to begin with. So it looks like I think that's an A. That AE is like an A,
like the ether.
Yeah. So it's like Geep, but like Geep. So Geep like Jeep, or Gape like, well. So like Jeep. Right. They are typing in response, so there's like a little bit of a delay. G Money. That's what it's going to be. G Money. Okay. I hope you don't mind. Oh, okay. Geep. Okay. Geep. Okay. Yeah. Sweet. All right. Well, mystery solved. Thank you for that, by the way.
But yeah, like if we just look at the mana curve on this deck, it's like,
yeah, it's pretty sick.
Crazy low.
Pretty sick. And it's like a ski slope. It's like gold medal. Hey, look at that. I can cast Thunderclap on curve.
And yeah, with 32, 33 lands in there, in that range, usually by turn 3, after you've drawn 3 cards, you're going to find your third land drop. So it's for the first 3 turns that this land count is really accounting for. And it's just saying, I'll get those pieces, maybe an extra piece of ramp, and that's all I realistically need.
Correct.
So
because after that, everything's so cheap. I'm just generating value off of 1, 2, 3 mana, and because I'm like you said, because I'm playing like 50 cantrips, I'm just going to naturally get into.
Yeah, and especially with cantrips, you'll find what you need.
Yeah. So to kind of so let me talk against Knack. So where the Knack combo works out in Malcolm Dargo is that all the pieces that are Knack associated, like this one I'm playing Scale, but that's only because I don't have a copy of Tooth. So Scale gives a toughness buff, Tooth gives a power buff. Well, Tooth is great in a Dargo deck because you need that extra buff to be a clean 2-hit, right? So there's some natural overlap there, and even then, like Bonesaw kind of fills the same requirement. Well, in a TPI list where the commander's like a 2/1, giving an extra bit of power kind of doesn't really matter as much. In fact, once I get an extra copy of Tooth of Chiscoria, I'll probably just swap out the Bonesaw for the Tooth. And the reason why the Tooth and the Scale are important is the instant speed, the flash.
Right.
And at a minimum, like the synergy, like in fact, I just goldfished a hand probably 30 minutes ago now, that on turn 4, as I was letting it pass around to the opposing players prior to my turn 5, I had a Scale and Knack in place, all the pieces in place and ready to go to make, 5,000 soldiers, hit my turn, untap, and attack, right? So, that's where the instant speed is nice, is being able to leverage the combat step. It's almost like we're Najila or something.
Yeah.
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 So
that's how Najila.
Yeah. You just attack, untap, make a soldier, attack, attack. Make a soldier. Yeah. Except for Najila's slow, right? They have to do it like one at a time. We can just do ours all at once and then attack, right?
Right.
So two puzzles, point. I was going to say credence, credo, whatever. But to his point, like there is an efficiency associated with the flicker spells that probably are a better pairing. This is just me being a pig-headed fool, and I mean, it's expected, right?
Yeah. So the thing by comparing like Flicker to Knack, right? So Knack and Flicker actually require about the same number of pieces. So for Knack, you need your enabler, your Knack, your payoff, and something to bounce. So you need 4. And for Flicker, you need a Flicker spell, an Archaeomancer, and a Drake that makes infinite mana. And then you need something else as your outlet or to get stuff back. So they both require about 4 pieces. But for Knack, usually you need an enabler to exist through a turn or get haste.
Yeah, well, Flicker's all spell based, and TPI is all about spells. So
and Flicker, you don't have to wait the turn, and there are fewer cards that you play for the combo, which is nice for giving you extra deck slots, but can harm redundancy issues because you have Peregrine Drake or Cloud of Fairies with High Tide. Those are your only options.
Yeah.
Or with a bounce land. So you get extra deck slots and can play better cards in general, but you do have some redundancy issues. But it is faster, so there is trade off. It is not directly better by any means. But
well, a lot of these, like I'm really impressed now. To that end, like I just read Third Path again because I'm new at this. It does say non-creature, so there is some value that's generated off of the playing of the knack associated spells that aren't creatures.
Yeah, so that's why I was saying, like, if you're still playing like the pingers and stuff, even like all of the pingers that you're playing will still win the game with the flicker combo. Instead of needing to draw everyone out, if you just have even like Reckless Fireweaver in play, you can make infinite mana with the flicker combo, cast TPI, and then continue doing the flicker combo.
Right, to put soldiers into play.
Infinite soldiers and kill everyone. So like, yeah, the pingers are still good with flicker in general, but in this deck, even the artifact ones win the game with flicker.
Yeah, just my my own morbid curiosity.
Yeah,
but I think there's opportunity too. Like, well, I was gonna say Zephyr Scribe is kind of new, but it's not. If we had, well, Cons, what is that? Cons of Tarkir? Jesus, that's 2014.
It's a little old.
I mean, having access to more like Steelfin Whale. I mean, it's
MH2, I think, right?
Yeah,
or MH1.
Yeah, it's the latest one to come out. It's not, as part of that whole affinity, rejuvenation. So Zephyr cards like Zephyr Scribe and Nettle Drone, things that things that do more than one thing, are the perfect types of cards for this deck, outside of the battered golem, which is basically I mean, I think I may have attacked with a battered golem once, Mirren Spy at least has flying, Yeah,
sometimes you swing with him and untap him in main phase 2. Crazy.
And Steelfin Whale is a 3/4, which is not such a bad thing, but I don't know. Zephyr Scribe is probably the perfect knack creature if one existed, because it allows you to just is that loot? Yeah, draw then discard. Okay, yeah. Rummage is the other way. Okay.
Right.
Too many terms, man. So Mizu, like the part that I was talking about is making the 5 million, billion, or 50 million summoning 6 soldiers. Well, what is a tombstone rodent? What even is that?
Crypt rats.
Oh, I see.
Activate Crypt rat for 1. Wipe the board.
I mean, if it's on the board, then you got to make them have it, right? So I can activate my banishing knack. Just make hell 100. The opportunity for having more than one of the knack spells in hand. I think that that happens. I've even if I have a dizzy spell, I'll have a knack spell in hand. I'll actually tutor for the other one, because I'll make it to where like I have enough mana. It's like, okay, cast banishing knack, okay, counterspell, okay, graveyard, cash retraction helix, okay. So there being 1 mana kind of allows you the opportunity to feign a little bit. So, tombstone rodent, huh? I've never heard that. Interesting. So yeah, this is Clay's weird experiment. So I challenge everyone to, if they want to build Flicker ahead of me, by all means. Just means that there'll be 2 combo versions running around. So I just wanted to try what's the name of the what's the name of that partners with?
Which one? Chakram, Slinger, and Retriever?
Yeah, isn't that supposed to be the penultimate?
I've played it a good bit. It's very consistent, but very, very slow. Both the commanders cost 5 mana.
Oh my god.
Yeah. But you have access to the banishing knack and the outlet in the command zone. But wow, are they expensive?
Do you think that was on purpose?
Probably.
So whenever you cast a spell during your turn, Jesus.
Yeah, and you can't do it at instant speed, which is annoying. It doesn't matter too much because, typically if you're casting the Retriever, you're going for it. But
so how are you? So are you trying to flicker in this instance, are you trying to use the cost reducers to flicker a mana rock to generate the red?
let me see if I can find my list here. I have so many deck lists. Dear Lord. Chakram, Banishing Knack. Here we go. So I can send you the list. It hasn't been updated for 5 months. But so they get a couple unique combo lines because of the way Chakram Retriever interacts with mana rock creatures and mana dorks.
Self-tapper.
If you have the knack and the Chakram's Retriever, then you can do some pretty funny lines.
So the line that says Chakram Retriever, Banishing Knack, Mana Dork, Zero Cost Artifact, Self Untapper. Oh, I see.
Yeah, so anything that untaps. So that's what you're putting the knack on. And that essentially means that you get, whenever you tap with knack to bounce something and then cast it, the creature will untap that has the knack on it, and you get an untap with the Chakram.
So you'll be making mana at that point.
Be able to net mana, or you can use a 1 mana artifact if you have an outlet in play already. And as long as the mana dork is paying for that 1 artifact, you can go neutral. So Retriever gives you extra lines if you have mana dorks.
Yeah.
And the normal line. And, it can also just be the Banishing Knack, or not the knack. It can be the untapper for you.
God, this is horrible. I mean, no, it's great, but Jesus, 10 mana. Holy crap.
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, Slinger is not part of the game plan.
Yeah, because you just want the knack creature.
Yeah, so you just want the knack creature, and then you want either one of the other outlets that's already in the deck, or you make infinite mana, and then you cast the Slinger. Additionally, the Slinger is a pinger in the command zone for the Curiosity package, so you always have access to that if you absolutely have to. But yeah, Slinger is the backup commander, kind of like the Lore Weaver to the Ley Weaver,
or the background that doesn't do anything for Abdel.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I was looking at this Kiku Artificer, and that's some pretty interesting tech. When it enters the battlefield, put 3 +1 counters onto 1 target non-creature artifact that becomes a creature.
Yep. So all your artifact lands can become a mana dork for the combo lines.
Of course, that's
which
very
is nice.
that's very specific to. Now that I'm realizing, that's very specific to this list.
Yeah. Yep. It's very, very specific. If you're in 3-color decks, Kenku Artificer is kind of interesting to put on the indestructible dual artifact lands, just to make a flying blocker that's indestructible. But whether that's actually
homunculus
worth
artifact creature with flying. With flying.
Yeah, blocks everything. It's also a colorless source, so they can't get past it with pro color. All that stuff, but
Yeah, I could have added this to my Shardless Agent list.
Yeah, it's a card that I started playing as soon as it came out in 60 card affinity, and it's really fun in 60 card. The indestructible blockers are much more relevant in that format, but
that's actually really good tech. That wouldn't. What I find interesting about it is it's unless you know about it, it won't come up in any search that you're kind of looking for, things of this nature, like knack stuff,
Right. Huh. But yeah, the list is pretty unique. We have 7 mana dorks. 8 if you count the the Kenku Artificer, I guess, kind of, sort of, but that one's conditional.
Yeah. I didn't put it up on the screen, so they just been listening to us talk about it.
Yeah, hopefully maybe there have been some printed recently that I haven't put in the list because I haven't updated it in a while, but it's okay. Sometimes you just win by throwing out Chakram Slinger, and your board state sucks because it gets wiped once, and then you're just sitting on Slinger, and you win in the worst way possible by not being the threat, and then eventually on turn 15 or whatever, because the game takes forever, you just cast Chakram Retriever and activate Slinger a bunch. But it's extremely mana intensive and not good, and it's like plan D, but it can win games. I've won games like that before. It never feels good, but it can happen sometimes.
Well, we've got 11 minutes left in the first hour. I know this is supposed to be like some community night, but seems like we're just kind of hanging and jamming, and in lieu of games and stuff. So, outside of puzzle thinking that my list should be a Flickr list, I think I have his stamp of approval.
Yeah, I mean, the list looks pretty much as good as it's gonna get being knack.
Being a knack list, yeah. Right on.
We'll see.
I'll consider that high praise.
Try them.
Yeah, and to that end, like
I could be wrong.
Well, I mean, I would argue that if I am able to master TPI with a knack list, then being able to master it with a Flickr list would be no problem.
Yeah, you've played your fair share of Flickr.
So it's just that Tatiova has Flickr in it. I think that's the only one left. At 6-8 months ago, I had what's the name of that scab? Possessed Scab. I had Possessed Scab. I had Warden of the Eye. I had Tatiova. And I even think I had one more. So at one point I had like 4 Flickr decks, and it's like,
Oh, I think I kept mine to just Warden of the Eye for my battle box. But I did have your Warden of the Eye in there.
Sweet.
I think it's still there, actually. I've been meaning to replace it with something else, but I think it's still there for now.
I did kind of go halfway on like trying to rejuvenate Warden of the Eye. It's just that it's more of a control list that I really want, because legitimately what your engine is on the control side is ephemerate. So basically you just find your best like control piece that you've already played, and you use ephemerate to loop that back to your hand and then get ephemerate back. So like that's the best control plan for the deck. And because it specifies a non-creature, non-artifact, you're not limited to just spells. You can actually get back enchantments, auras, things of that nature. So, like, one of the turn-offs, I guess I could say, because it's actually one of my most viewed decks, is the fact that it is more of a control shell. And I can play control, I just don't have the patience for it, and really all I want to do is just like, whether or not it's combo or aggro, I just want to like smash face and do the damn thing and that sort of thing. Now, where that deviates a little bit is Crackling Drake, because you're not trying to power a Crackling Drake out. What you're trying to do is just it's turbo in the fact that you're just like cantrip. And there's something kind of fun about, like, okay, draw two, draw two, counterspell, counterspell, lightning bolt, wipe the board. There's something kind of fun about that, even if you're not really deploying a threat. So there's some high pace to that. And then naturally, if you're doing the Lord's work, by the time you deploy your threat, it is actually threatening. So Drake is like the kind of the example. And I even thought about adding some flicker into that, but every time I think about it, it's like a flicker. Okay.
Yeah, especially like, man, finding the Peregrine Drake is so annoying sometimes. I know one of the first games my friend played with the Warden of the Eye deck, he got it down to a 1v1 with me, and I was essentially locked out of the game just because, I'm in a 1v1 with a control deck. But he could not find the Peregrine Drake for the life of him. And non-infinitely, he had to dig to the bottom card of his deck, which was Peregrine Drake, to get there. But he still got there. But in a tournament, that definitely would have been a draw, because that took forever. And yeah, not being able to find it is so annoying sometimes.
Bring up the old YouTube studio.
The threat is the boringness of opponents. Yeah, boring. No, that's not that is a threat. That's the win condition. My win con is I'm going to cast Oubliette and copy it 2 times, and Oubliette everyone's commander out of the game.
It's a subtle dig. I see you.
No, I'm not even talking about Oubliette tomorrow. My video is just talking about possuming.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I don't know. It's such a weird. I have you recorded it yet?
Yep, it is scheduled.
It's scheduled.
But if you want to talk about it, I'm free. I can talk about it. My videos aren't high secret.
So so to that end, let me just bring this up, so we're not just staring at some random. In fact, here we can just look at Clay's list of things. So, so the real. Let's get to the real. As Chris would say, let's just fucking say it. I think possuming is less of a plan and more of something a player by their personality type naturally does. So if they feel comfortable hanging back in the cut and just making decisions and being reactionary and not saying a whole lot, not doing a whole lot, I think that's probably more akin to who they are as a person, as a player, and less of a choice that they're actively making to be quiet. Because I mean, if you've met me, like if I'm sitting around and being quiet, that's uncharacteristic, and you're going to think something strange of it. So if I'm not being my natural boisterous self, you're going to think that weird, right?
Right.
So that's the honest to God's truth on what I feel about like possuming. Possuming is just an expression of a personality trait.
Yeah. So basically, the argument that I pose in the video is that I don't think possuming is really a thing in gameplay. That's a problem.
Mm-hmm.
I think if it's gameplay possuming we're talking about, that's whatever. That's politics. That's just a play style. The possuming that I see as problematic for the competitive side of the format is possuming in deck building, where you are actively choosing to play something because it is worse, so that you can say that you are doing something worse. That's what I'm talking about in the video. Also, to find it for Gabe there, or Geep. Yeah, it's like if you're choosing between Cryptic Serpent and whatever the other one is,
isn't that Jesus Christ? Where's Ryan?
I was literally just talking about it today in the video. And I can't even remember the other one's name.
It's the one that's it's the mono blue crackling drake.
Yeah. Because there's one that costs 2 more, but has ward and gets its cost reduced by cards in exile and in the graveyard. So it's just like pretty much, and it's bigger. Yeah. One's a 7/7. The bad one is a 6/5.
So
it's like, to use the term, choose to play the bad one, that's not healthy, in my opinion.
I'm not a huge proponent of willy-nilly throwing around the term strictly better, but there are cases where that is accurate, true and accurate. And now I gotta find that stupid card.
Yeah, I agree. Because there's not many things that are strictly better. I do not think Crackling Drake is strictly better than Sprite Dragon. As much as the general consensus might be that Crackling Drake is better, there's a difference,
Mm-hmm.
And I talk about that in the video too. And it's like, that's not possuming to choose to play Sprite Dragon over Crackling Drake. That's player preference because they believe it is better or has a niche. But if you are actively choosing a card that is
Sailor's Bane.
Yeah, Sailor's Bane.
Oh my God.
Cryptic Serpent. If you are actively choosing to play Cryptic Serpent instead of Sailor's Bane because it is worse and you think people will hate you out of the game less, I don't think that's healthy for a competitive format.
Yeah.
Because you are not trying to play the strongest thing possible.
So I try to... I'll say it a different way. So using a different format as an analogy. So before I played CPDH almost exclusively, I was a CDH player. And I had some casual EDH decks, but not really the things. It wasn't the thing that I wanted to do. I wanted to go fast. I wanted to go hard and all of that stuff. So I usually preferenced playing my CEDH decks at the LGS with the preference. I wasn't a douchebag about it, or I know it was called the tryhards, but I wasn't I wasn't douchey about it. I'd say, hey, I got a CDH deck. If you allow me the opportunity to not ruin my reputation, I'll just pull punches, right? So when I think of possuming, that's what I think of is this dialing back, this pulling of punches to not be a threat. So, I'm obviously playing in that circumstance with the CEDH deck against like their high power whatever. I'm obviously playing a really really high powered deck. So, it's opossum. So yeah, the American spelling of possum is OPP, and then you got the rest of it right.
I think it's a single P actually.
Oh no, yeah, you might be right.
But yeah, we're just talking about it in the sense of like people faking or saying that they're, how a possum lays dead and plays dead, right? So it's
they probably that's what I'm saying. They probably don't. A possum is a marsupial that basically whenever it go under. It plays dead whenever it's threatened. So the predator thinks that I can just leave it here to rot or whatever, or leave it alone. So, technique du lizard mort. Oh yeah. So like the dead lizard, because there's there's lizards that do the same thing. I think I know what you're talking about. I've watched my David Attenborough.
But yeah, that's the kind of discussion. And yeah, for me, I think it's much more of an issue in deck building, especially on the competitive end. Just because, like,
that's such a hard thing to prove because
it is.
Because objectively, or subjectively would actually be the term. I play Faithless Looting in every red deck that I own, right? From more than one person over the last 2 years, I have heard every story left and right about card disadvantage and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, look, it does the thing that I need it to do. So let me play my stupid Faithless Looting so that way I can draw into 2 cards, get rid of 2 pieces of crap that I don't need at the moment, and then flash it back if I need to. Let me do my thing, and then you can play your 3 mana draw 4 spell or whatever. There isn't, if there was, that'd be awesome. So
to address why I'm calling it unhealthy, is because, so like, let's say for instance, Clay's playing Faithless Looting. But he thinks it's a good card. In that case, it's not possuming. Clay thinks it's a good card. He's playing it because he thinks it's strong. And everyone else could be wrong. So that's not possuming. But if you are choosing to play a card because you think it is not as good and makes you less of a threat, I think that's unhealthy for a competitive format because you are no longer building your deck as competitively as possible. And whenever we start going down that road, we start not playing competitive decks at some point, right? Like, it just becomes, okay, I'm choosing this because I'm less of a threat. Well, then I need to be less of a threat. Okay, so now we're all just playing casual decks. And then someone comes in who's just playing all of the strong stuff, and I'm gonna guess that even in this format, if everyone's playing all the bad cards because they're worse, then they're not gonna stand a chance whenever the Tatiova comes back, or insert other Abdel, Gretchen, whatever you want. They're just gonna get curb stomped, and then we have to reset and start all over again.
Yeah. So it's not necessarily the casual never win in the end, because that as we're discovering, and especially for those in attendance of RAW, it's casual and competitive is more of a mindset, right? It's a how you're approaching the game. It's how you're playing within the game. It's how you're approaching deck building. Casuals want to get something out of their play experience. For competitive people, it's just to win, whatever that is. If they're slapping their mother, if they're whatever it is, they want to win. So that's what they're basing their decision tree off of. Casuals conversely want a play experience. They want to have fun. They want to do their thing. Not to say that doing their thing doesn't enable them the opportunity to win. It's just order of precedence. That might be a byproduct of whatever thing that they're trying to do, which in that intention is not trying to win. It's trying to do the thing. So I know that's a weird philosophical layering there, but it's an important one nonetheless.
And yeah, Misu, it is kind of that theory where it's like, well, if I'm playing less threatening things, then I'm not going to get targeted.
Mm-hmm.
And while yes, that is true to some extent, first off, we have combo decks that don't target anyone and will just win anyways.
Mm-hmm.
And also, while that may work in some games, over the course of time, I do not think that's an effective way to win, nor is it healthy for how people will build their decks in the future, to the point where, they just won't be able to keep up whenever someone does decide, I'm just going to go back to playing the good stuff. And then everyone has to climb back to that level because if people are choosing to play less threatening things so that they don't get targeted, then yeah, it's just not great. And even if only one person is doing it, they might win a couple games, scrape them out because they're not getting targeted. Mm-hmm. But in the long run, I do not think that will even increase your win rate in the first place.
It's also
inconsistent. Exactly.
So in fairness, we're rallying, we're raging against these concepts. In fairness, we can't rightly even define what competitive is. The format is still new enough that essentially we're ascribing that to basically whoever's winning, whoever's performing, right? But even then, like, how do you dissect that from player skill? How do you dissect that from pod composition, turn order? Did Dallas eat his Cheerios this morning? Like there's so many factors in there, and we're actively trying to figure that out. Don't you worry. But I mean, it's not. If this was a 1v1 format, we'd be on the ball. Like,
it would be so easy.
It'd be so easy. But because
yeah, that's the thing. You can't really track it, and you can't even prove it if someone is doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it's more just the idea of the philosophy, where it's like I would encourage people to actively avoid making decisions because they think it'll make them less of a threat. Choosing to play worse cards that you believe are worse. If you think that it is the proper choice because it is the strongest option,
impact,
then that's fine. That's cool. If you believe that and no one else does, good for you. You can still play it. I don't care if I disagree. But yeah, it's just so hard to actually define any of this or enforce it, and it's all just completely theoretical and arbitrary anyways.
Mm-hmm.
Which is what makes it such a difficult topic to discuss.
Well,
yeah,
it's 7:11. Probably chit chat for another 15 or so minutes. The running the risk of trying to find a game here once we start getting closer to 8 o'clock is then this old man starts to underperform. Because I've been up since 4 something. To that end. No, I'll rename the stream to just, community chit chat. Basically. No, this is good. This is good. It's always fun to try to come on, make ourselves available. I know the Sanctuary was having some LFG type activities tonight. What's it called again? It's called
I think it's just called F&M.
F&M. Yeah, there's such a huge outcry. Oh yeah, Geep, yes. Have a good one. Yeah, like there's such an outcry for games, but the problem that most people are experiencing is that they can't find a regular time in their schedule to get those games together. So the impetus has been put on. They're doing F&Ms now. They've got a pod over there. I think Paul.
They're looking for another pod. It looks like too.
Yeah. So.
But yeah, Paul's in there today.
Yep. So yeah, I think we'll scrub this up as an experiment. Once Ryan gets back, he's off in British Columbia or something like that, kind of goofing off. Once he gets back in the weeks coming, it'll be a whole lot easier because we'll just have half a pod all ready to go. So, and then
sure.
The intention would be, as we have extras in both servers, we just kind of flop people back and forth, rising tide and all that. So, right on.
Yeah.
All right. I think Mizu was my last watcher. I checked it on my phone. You got any questions for us, homie, before we scoot?
Yeah, I can talk all day about literally anything about the format. So.
Mm-hmm. If only we got paid.
Yeah, if only.
So it's all right. It's all right. One day you'll have 1,000+ subscribers, making $16 a month. Like,
yeah,
you too can live the dream. Yeah, it's awesome. So
content creators don't need a second job.
No.
What?
So cool. All right, I think that's where we'll put a pin in it. Dallas, my man, thank you for hanging out with me for an hour or so.
Not a problem. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. All right, fellows and ladies and smizmars and all of that stuff on the flip. Monday, I think Ryan will still be gallivanting in British Columbia. It's doing some ravey thing, whatever that is. So there's probably no Let's Build on Monday, but we'll probably be back in it with a fervor next week to play some games. So, yeah. Until the next time. Peace out. Okay. It looks like we're clear.
Well, that's fun. Unfortunate.